All right, moving on the transfer deadline day. It's the final hour where we wrap everything up. We've done Ghanaian interest, we've done European interest. Let's do some African interest. Of a topic that has been trending from January since the Africa Cup of Nations was expected to have come on and indeed came off in June in Egypt was the fact that how were the players going to react to it? Almost to a man, the European-based players said it was a good decision because it allowed them to focus on their teams throughout the season and to play with freedom for their national teams in June. Now, the big question is, how was it going to affect them in the transfer window? Largely so far, anecdotal evidence suggests that many of them used it as a shop window, and in the case of players like Jordan Ayew, Alex Iwobi, that has been confirmed today, it seems that it's a good decision. The Confederation of African Football will obviously see this as a victory, and Ibrahim Sanidara works for CAF, former GFA spokesperson, but he's on the line with us to look at this phenomenon and this trend. Ibrahim, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Gary.
Where in this world are you at the moment?
In this moment, I'm in Accra.
Oh, wow. Ibrahim is somebody you can't keep tabs on because one moment he's in Accra, he's in Cairo, and on CAF duty doing a lot of work for the Confederation of African Football. So we've seen a lot of moves, Ibrahim, straight to the point. Nicolas Pepe is the biggest one we've seen. More African players have moved. Would you say it's a vindication of the movement of the date of the AFCON from January to June?
I think, Gary, there's no doubt about this fact that the movement of, or the decision to move the AFCON to the summer times, European summer times, is a good decision or has come in handy for players in Europe. You'd probably watch and say that almost half of the Algerian team have already changed their clubs.
That's true.
Players are making bigger, much bigger moves than they previously did during the AFCON, because the AFCON in January would only allow you to make, such a move in the middle of the season where most teams are not even concentrated on the tournament itself. A lot of them were not watching. So you'd want to agree with the fact that the transfers that we've had that have made a lot of impact, like the Pepe deal, the Trezeguet deal, the Idrissa Gana Gueye deal, are things. Jordan Ayew, Alex Iwobi that we've just heard, are deals that we can say that came as a result of this. And for some of the players like Idrissa Gana Gueye, like Ben Nasser, who moved from Empoli, the best AFCON player, Ben Nasser, who moved from Empoli, who were relegated to the Serie B, to AC Milan, you would see that it came right after the AFCON. And that tells you that that gave opportunities for clubs in Europe to watch. And it's crucial, Gary. One, the tournament happens at a time that all the competitions in the world, let's say the club competitions in the world or in the major leagues of Europe, have ended. So that allowed the teams and their scouts to be able to watch and see which players will fit the gaps they have in their team. So it actually bodes well. Not even only with the top teams in Europe. Uganda, for instance, have shipped off 4 players from their team to the Egyptian league, and it is happening all over. I just read just this afternoon that 2 of the Mauritanian national team players have signed for teams in Algeria, and you can hear this resonate across the continent. So you would say that it was a no-brainer that the AFCON should have moved, not only for the players, but for the benefit of the tournament itself.
Excellent. Ibrahim, please stay with us. We are going to look at what all our discussions in the past 2 and 35, 40 minutes will mean in terms of the teams themselves. We'll come back to you for a reason to look at how our African players are going to fit, because obviously you have covered African football longer than some of us were born, have been on this earth. Oreku Ampofo is in studio with us. Oreku, what have you got in terms of the analysis?
Well, finally, the window has closed, but of course, there has to be some aftermath and after effect after all these buys, and that necessarily means that the teams would now change in terms of how they do look and their outlook and lineup. And we'll be starting from Real Madrid, who have spent over $300 million this summer. Of course, Perez did speak of a massive revamp, especially after their poor seasons last season. So we start off from Real Madrid, and we look at their defense, and we look at Mendy coming in from the left back position. We have Ramos and Varane, the familiar face. Carvajal would be at the right back position. Casemiro, Modric, and Kroos in the midfield. New face Eden Hazard should complete that front three with Benzema and Vinicius. Of course, this is just face value stuff, and a lot of things could change. We saw Zidane tweaking a lot in terms of his lineup during the preseason. From Real Madrid, we head straight to England and Arsenal, where there were a lot of cries about their defense. They managed to sweep in some two names right before deadline day closed. David Luiz is still being told that his deal is being worked on as they submitted a deal sheet, but Leno should be in goal. Socrates and David Luiz would be at the centre-back position. I don't know whether Mustafi would find a way in there, but Hector Bellerin, he is fit, so should be in the first team. Tierney, who's the new signing, should slot into this team easily, replacing Monreal. Torreira and Xhaka should be providing the pivots for Ceballos. And of course, that front three of they keep asking themselves, where are they? Hopefully, they do find some goals. Nicolas Pepe, Lacazette, and Aubameyang. But this leaves a big question where Mesut Ozil would be in this team. Remember that he's the highest paid player in Arsenal and the second highest paid player in the Premier League. We move to the other side of North London, Arsenal's closest rivals. And Lloris should keep his place in goal. Captain Walker Peters should be a breakthrough season for him with the departure of Trippier. We have Toby Alderweireld, Vertonghen, and new signing Sessegnon slotting in there to make that back four. Harry Winks, Ndombele, and Sissoko make that midfield three. We have Ali, Eriksen, and Kane. For Spurs, it's going to be very dynamic. Remember, Lucas Moura, Son, Lamela, and of course, new signing Lo Celso, who got 9 goals and 4 assists for Real Betis in La Liga last season, are not even in here. So Pochettino, from just one signing in the whole of 2018, is now spoiled for choice for team selection. So it's going to be very interesting to look forward to, of course. And let me come to George and Gary. Of course, what I've done so far, I've looked about 4 teams so far. And how does the lineup look, especially for the Premier League and, the race for that top 4?
Well, I think it's not bad. I think you were just very close in terms of the prediction. But of course, when the season begins, I'm sure the managers will have another look at it. What you have done, I think, is to give us the most probable in terms of how it starts. I know there will be injuries along the way. There will be some difficulties, managers having issues with players not able to adapt. It's not as if when you sign and you get into the Premier League, automatically you just start playing once it begins tomorrow. So I'm sure we'll have a little bit of changes going through it. But there are some wonderful players who I expect to see coming to life here. And I like that Tottenham team. A lot of potential. We're yet to feel what kind of potential, though.
Yeah, and it's frightening.
Yeah.
What this Spurs team would have looked like if Dybala had come in. Look, it would have made them. And I saw the tweets you made this morning about the kind of signing Dybala could have made them. It could have transitioned them to from also runs to title contenders in one fell swoop. And I think that is the sort of game-changing, season-defining, epoch-making moves that Spurs will be looking out for. They didn't succeed this time, but I've got a feeling that they are going to try again. Some of the other clubs will be doing so as well.
I'm sure the next 4 will be very interesting as the Manchester United fans and Chelsea fans line up.
If we could take Oreku.
Okay, so we've done the top 4 guys, and it's now time for a pretty youthful team, which would be, taken charge by Frank Lampard. And we move to the blue side of London. We've looked at Tottenham Hotspur and Arsenal. It's now time to talk about Chelsea. And of course, they had a little transfer ban. And so the only new signing that they got in effect was Pulisic, who already agreed a deal even before that ban was effective. So it's going to be similar faces for Chelsea. But let me quickly run you through their lineup. It's going to be Kepa in goal. Aspilicueta from right back. He's the captain. Christensen, Rudiger, and Alonso would make that back four. Very familiar faces. And then Jorginho, Kante, and Barkley, who's been the man for Chelsea in the preseason, should make that midfield three for Chelsea back to the front three where it gets really hot. Willian should be in the team, but in terms of preseason and the form, Willian has had a bit of an injury, so Pedro would be coming in from the right. New signing Pulisic from the left, who's had good preseason, and of course Olivier Giroud starting, I think, ahead of Tammy Abraham due to his lack of experience. And now to Barcelona, where there is a really, really tricky situation. Remember that for Barcelona, who come from Spain, they still have some window to sign players, and as to whether they would be getting Neymar, we have to wait. PSG have set up to 12th August for Barcelona to try and get their man. But as things do stand, it's going to be much or less the same back four from last season, with Roberto, Piqué, Lenglet, Alba, and Ter Stegen in goal. But in the midfield, it's going to be Busquets, Rakitic, and De Jong from what we've seen in preseason. Now the front three is where it does get a little interesting. Leo Messi, of course, expected to start. Luis Suarez, even if he's not getting the goals, he's the friend of Messi, and we saw the two of them hanging out during the summer. So he has to be in that lineup, considering the power that Messi has. And Griezmann, that only leaves him with a place from the left wing. And we saw a report that Dembele is not happy, playing second fiddle to this front three. So it does leave a lot of interesting stuff for Barcelona. And I do end with Manchester United because everyone on social media is talking about, the man himself, Ed Woodward.
Chelsea vs Manchester United.
Yeah, you just had a little jammer from the Manchester United boys, and they're singing out Maguire because yes, he's the world's most expensive defender now. But just a quick run through the lineup. De Gea expected to sign a new deal, second highest paid player in Manchester United, probably at the end of the week. Lindelof partnering Maguire, Wan-Bissaka, and Luke Shaw. That back four does really look tasty, but of course the problems do look like they're ahead of them. Matic is expected to start in the DM role. Pogba and Lingard probably should get the nod. Maybe Lingard will have to fight for a spot with Fred. And new signing Daniel James, Rashford, and Martial should be the team's front three, considering that Romelu Lukaku has left the Red Devils to Inter Milan.
Thank you.
Wow, thank you very much. That was comprehensive.
Yeah.
And I must say that after the show ends, you are going to see these nifty videos, the explanations and the stuff like that on our page on Joy Sports, so that you can watch them again and again and again. I was keeping Ibrahim Sani on as Oreku did this analysis on the major teams because I wanted to ask him a question. The AFCON is over. The Ballon d'Or nominations are out as well. From the Confederation of African Football point of view, how would you say the top three or the top five African players of the year will come from, or who would they be based on what you've seen so far?
It will be very difficult to tell. Obviously, the national team coaches and the captains of the national teams will have a say in it. Our committee, the media experts panel, will also have a say on it, as well as the technical study group. Going forward, also, I think there were discussions about also getting some legends to be involved. That would be at the level of Tony Bafo, who's the Deputy General Secretary in charge of football. But by and large, you'd see the players that have excelled in various competitions, particularly the AFCON. This will stick in the memories of those people who do the selections, who do the nominations for these players to come through. So you would expect players who excelled at the AFCON, the key players. I would not be surprised if, for instance, I see the names of players like Mahrez, Ben Naza, Sadio Mane, and the rest like that. I think that these key players will factor in these nominations. These are the names that will abide in the minds of people who do the selections, and I think that these players will stay. But the performances of some of these players also with their clubs, so you expect Salah, even though Egypt did not do well, you expect him to also play up in there well, and perhaps maybe even a player like Thomas Partey for Ghana, given his performances for his clubs. Other players like Alex Iwobi, from what he did with Arsenal last season and now what he did with Nigeria and the rest will also come into being. So there'll be a lot of players to choose from. There are players who have emerged this year, Idriss Gana Gueye from Senegal, Trezeguet, Frank Kessie, Pepe of Ivory Coast. All of these players have been bought because of their performances. And I suspect that these will go into the names that people would want to select.
CAF Media Committee member, thank you very much. And one of our own. And the Sunny. Thank you very much for your time. That's his signature move. Ibrahim Sani, former GFA spokesperson, bringing us into this short now. The Joy deadline day is in the final throes. 10 minutes as we wrap it all up. The gentlemen who've brought it to you here will be wrapping it. George, what have you got?
Well, let me say that you see these lavishly young, pegged men here on your screen. But we've got great guys in the background who have made this work out. The likes of Villashan, Moses Yabwa,
social media and radio,
working it so hard and making it working out. We have to say a big thank you to, the entire leadership of Joy Sports, Nathaniel Ator, who ensured, the tummies were really looking good on the side, coming here, and everything that he has done. Of course, we have to say a big thank you as well to the leadership of Joy News and Include Multimedia, making this work out. We had spent nights and nights with the technical men. Gary, you know what? Modestus, Osama, David. We really spent time. George, in charge of sound, and I cannot exhaust this list. I have to tell you, Gary, that
it's been good.
It's been good.
Just like we do every transfer deadline show, we want to have a special mention from everybody who has been involved in this effort. It's a collective one. And for all those of you on Twitter, for those of you on Instagram, for those of you watching us on Facebook, listening to us on Joy FM, and streaming via myjoyonline.com, you are the reason why we do this. The transfer window is closed, but we are going to have an after show on social media where we talk more about the issues. All the videos you saw will be put on social media, and that's how we call it a show for now.
All right, so we know Benedict Owusu, Gary L. Smith, Elom Fiaka, Raymond Nyambado, really, Riku Ampofo, guys have made this work out for us. Thank you everybody for making this work out. We're definitely back with that January transfer window, and you don't want to miss that. And you know you have to follow us on our various social media accounts as we go deep into it. Till we meet then for another transfer countdown show. It's bye-bye from all of us here at Joy Sports. The job is definitely what?
The job!
It was a score battle.